Welcome to the Legendarium Green Team. I'm your host, Kip Tan, and with me today are Jeff Dugan and Jingalls 90.
Yellow.
Today, we're going to be talking about L.E. Modesitt's book, The Magic of Recluce, the first book in the Recluce Saga in publication order, but our third to be covered here on Green Team. We can start right off with first impressions. So we're going to be doing spoiler extremely light to start off, and then we will get deeper into spoilers as we go. We'll only be discussing spoilers for Magic of Recluce, though, not really anything for the other two books that we've covered already. Jingalls, you're the newcomer here. What did you think of this book? Was he all he was cracked up to be? Did I poison the well too badly?
No, I think it actually, I can get into this later. I didn't think he was that whiny. Definitely restless. Definitely a little on the miserable side, especially in the beginning. But I actually grew to like Laris a lot more than Lauren, I think. And overall for the book, all three of these kind of sit in that same area for me of enjoyment. I don't think it moves. Maybe slightly above Magi.
Okay. If you had to give it a number rating, what would you say?
Ooh, probably around the 7.58.
Okay, cool. Jeff, I know that you've read this book before, but how did you like it this time around?
The interesting observation for me this time around is that some of the pieces that I remembered being bigger chunks of the book were much smaller than I was recalling them. I don't know if that's a difference of page count versus audio, but also very definitely a piece in which the section of the book that I actually remember enjoying the most from when I had read it a very long time ago came a lot later in the book and didn't take up nearly as much time as I thought I remembered.
I will actually second that.
I wonder if we're talking about the same part.
Yeah, I'm curious.
I actually went back into my ebook and I sectioned out the whole book by location.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have some percentages to share with everybody, but we will do that in the spoiler section.
Okay.
None of them were like nearly as long. What I felt like half the book to me, but definitely wasn't.
Yeah, I think there's something that y'all were prepping me for in the last episode where I was kind of expecting a lot more of like this one thing to be the focus, and then was kind of surprised to see that it didn't happen until way later. So anyway, yeah, I'll be interested to get into that conversation.
Okay. Jeff, where would you number this book?
I'm with Jingalls. I would probably give it a 7 or an 8. It's a solid first effort for a series. It is not the author's first effort ever. It's well done. There's maybe a little weirdness in pacing.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And some of that's I think what we were both just alluding to of certain things standing more prominently in memory than actual page counts would suggest, and vice versa.
I can see that.
And it's never going to be a book that jumps up to the list of dearly beloved comfort rereads that are places held by things like Stardust.
Sure. I give it a 7. I think it's a solid fantasy book. I think it does a bunch of things fairly well. I don't think it does anything in an exemplar fashion. And it definitely doesn't have any sort of like unique flair that I would recommend it for.
No. Well, I would get into maybe one thing.
The food.
The food, yep. No, I'd get into actually, it does change up the hero's journey for me a little bit, but it's like a really minor change. Like you said, nothing exemplary, nothing overly exemplary.
Later books in the series do better the thing that makes Recluce unique.
Sure. Just for the record, when Modesitt wrote this book, he made it a standalone originally. He had no intentions for following it up with a sequel, and he initially wasn't sure how he was going to follow it up with a sequel, so he wrote a prequel instead.
Okay. I can see that.
And then he started sketching out the universe.
Yeah. I mean, this is totally with the knowledge that there's 20 books coming, but it was like, oh yeah, this feels the most contained of the 3 that we've read so far. And yeah, I was actually a little confused with, we're usually looking at duologies here. I was like, this one actually is I have a very limited scope, but this one feels like I don't have to read a sequel to it like Magi did.
You definitely don't have to. Magi, definitely you do.
Yes, absolutely.
Magi is half a story.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the first 2 books are very much standalone. You can read them, be totally done, no big deal.
Yep.
At the time it was written, the same is true of The Magic Engineer.
The same is still true of The Magic Engineer.
There's
no sequel to that book.
There's not a direct sequel, but it now sort of forms the middle edge.
None of the characters reappear.
Magic Engineer's the middle, bracketed by White Order and Colors of Chaos.
Sure.
So you see the same events played out.
There's still no direct sequel, but yeah.
It's really not until he started with books 6 and 7 that he starts doing this pair of point of view novels.
It's funny that I think of when you said The Magic Engineer, I was like, that's a black book, and that has no black sequel. That's where my mind went. The dichotomy of L.E. Modesitt has really gotten into my head.
I can totally see that.
We've done our spoiler-free talk. Oh, other than Chesky asked, is this a good entry point into Recluce? And I think the obvious answer is yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Of the 3 so far, this is the most standard fantasy you could get. I mean, if you've read Robert Jordan, if you've read Terry Goodkind, Brooks, literally anyone who was writing in this era for this type of fantasy, you're going to be able to get right into it.
And of the 3 that we've gone through, this is the one that does the best job of laying out order and chaos. In particular, the piece that neither of them is inherently good or bad. Of the 3 we've talked about.
Maybe, but there's several like little pieces of the magic system in this one, which are just completely incongruous to anything else that he's ever written in this world. And so I think there's parts of it that don't quite mesh with Laris's experience as he tells us and as his parents tell us. So I think there's a couple mistakes in this one, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're about to get into spoiler talk. 3, 2, 1. If you haven't read the books, go away unless you're Red or someone else who has her enlightened idea of spoilers. Let's go in. We can talk about how exactly Hero's Journey this book is now.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you, Jeff, that there is like I got kind of stuck on the order chaos being balanced situation here. The morality of order and chaos seems to be not very defined at the beginning of this book, but by the end, I thought we were very much aiming for order equals more good, chaos equals more bad. Maybe that's because of things that are happening in Recluce. I mean, they did establish, or Modesitt established pretty easily that throughout the book that there's so much chaos focused in Kandar right now because Recluce has been kind of so successful in imposing order, which I found interesting.
The balance,
it's always there. But yeah, I mean, and it's kind of to the point of the hero's journey. It starts out almost exactly like all of those. We have our hero start in a pretty mundane existence, and eventually he crosses a threshold that takes him to something a little bit more, right? Or way more. Yep. I think for me, I liked the little twist on this is that the mundane still plays a huge role in what comes after he passes that threshold, in that we spend 20% of the book as with him still as a carpenter even after his training is done.
And also the piece where in that very mundane craft is what turns out to be critical to him understanding how he manipulates order.
Yep.
And how he replicates the apprenticeship that he had under Sardit in a new location and continues his education in a more self-directed fashion. But also how he finally opens up the book that his father got him. Which, is another standard part of the hero's journey, right? It's a reconciliation with the father.
No, starting to understand why the father does what he does.
Yep. And it's right about the halfway point, which is about where it happens in the book.
Yeah.
So I actually have those numbers that I was talking about earlier. And so we have about 1% in his own home. Then we have another 3 to 4% in his apprenticeship. And then we have a total of 21% of the book is him training in the Danger Guild, like training area in Nylon.
I would not have said it was that long.
21%, yeah. He doesn't enter Freetown until the 25% mark of the book.
Oh, yeah, this book was a little slow to start for me. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. That was yeah, I was just that entire Danger Guild piece. I thought it was interesting to start, and I was, oh, we're taking forever to get through this.
The part that shocked me most was how he was immediately so derogatory towards Tamara upon seeing her in an instant. He was like, I wanted to throttle her, that B word.
Yeah. That was wild to me. It was like, I have not seen a swear word in this entire book. And then, like, one of the first women he interacts with that's not family, he calls her that. I was, okay. Well, this is.
And then
different.
Crystal, he was like, oh, she's very pretty, but only if she didn't giggle.
Yeah.
Only what, Laris? Only what?
Yeah. His interactions with the women at the beginning of this book are just very odd. Maybe fitting a little bit into that. He's a youth that. That has a lot of toxic feelings, maybe towards the opposite sex.
I think it's maybe more that at least to start, his toxic feelings are toward Recluce and Order in the first place.
I'm going to try and save Laris here and say that his reaction to Tamara is because she's an incipient chaos master. And so he's having an instinctual order chaos reaction to her. And that's where his immediate hatred comes from.
Okay.
I have no complaints with that explanation.
It's the only way I can try and save Laris here, because it was a forceful reaction that came from nowhere.
Yeah.
They didn't even exchange words. That he just immediately hated her.
Given the role she plays at the end of this book, that seems fair to me. It's a lot of benefit of the doubt, though.
She's not the only chaotic person there, but she is the only chaos wizard exclusively there. I mean, but if you believe the Brotherhood, then they're all chaos attractors in one form or another.
Right.
Or at least insufficiently satisfied with order to contribute to order at that point in their lives.
Sure. But I can't help but note the lack of vituperative speech against the other people who were there.
Yep. No, like I said, even if it's not something that was intended, I think that what you have just described is a perfectly cromulent explanation for what happens.
Sure.
It totally hangs together.
Yep. So that was the Danger Guild part. 17% of the book is spent with Justin, 20% in Fenard, and about 13% in Kifros.
The Justin and Fenard parts are both smaller than they are in my memory.
Yep. Same. I remember the Justin part being small, but I thought Fenard was longer.
Yeah. Okay. So here's where my confusion came in, because you all were prepping me for carpentry for this entire book. And then we got through his training. I was like, well, that wasn't very long. I mean, it was just kind of the onus to get him moving forward. And then we got to Fenard and okay. And this took quarter of the book. I'm not surprised by that. Kifros, the last area.
Kifros, it's Kifros. The country that Crystal's fighting for.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that was 13%.
13%.
By the time we got out of Fenard, I kind of just felt like the book almost ended. But
he goes off to fight Antonin at the 90% mark.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, that he leaves Fenard and it just barrels toward the conclusion.
He leaves Fenard at the 77% mark, and then he leaves Kifrian at the 90% mark. He gets that nice little moment of reconciliation with Crystal for a day or two.
Yeah. And then he spends the time with the people eating the spicy chili.
Yeah.
That's also a decent chunk. That does kind of get to the point. The pacing of this book is very weird. There's a lot of peaks and a lot of just slow. Here's life.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd call it slice of life, but
Did you get invested in him building up a dowry for
Not really. I
two different
was,
people?
yeah. The kind of thing that I would compare this to is like Modesitt was trying to do what Rothfuss is really successful at, which is make me feel a certain way towards another art, like
Mm,
carpentry.
yeah.
I would really like to feel the way Laris feels while he's creating. That'd be really cool. But the prose was just not there. It's not
Yeah.
like with Rothfuss when you have Koth actually playing and you can feel the music coming out of him, at least to my mind. Yeah, I had a hard time investing. I found it very interesting when someone burnt up because there was too much order in the chair. That was cool.
I
Hmm.
remember those chairs taking so much longer
Yeah.
and it being a lot more than he steeped them in order and then he steeped them again in order.
Yeah. Just kept steeping. Yeah. Never. And working with grain. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that could have worked there that would have made that whole section more okay in my mind. But yeah, it didn't grip me as much as I think he might have wanted it to.
Yeah. I mean, there was that whole detour for like the streets of magical prostitutes.
Yeah.
And what was going on there?
Just seeing how order and chaos can be used practically. I don't know.
No, I was just saying that my answer there is that I think that scene is intended to show us the degree to which Lyris's order chaos senses have developed as a result of what he's been doing with his craft, compared to how they were functioning when he had to break company with
Eh,
Justin before he ended up in Fenard.
I don't know about that because one of the very first things he does upon entering Nylon is see through illusions. And so that skill is not an expansion of anything that he hasn't, not something that he learned since he saw Justin, not something that he ever learned. It's just something he's always been able to innately do. So, like, that doesn't show growth, really. It maybe it's temptation, but did we really believe that Laris was going to sleep with a prostitute?
Mm,
Yeah,
no.
it
Doesn't show his healing skills because it isn't, he doesn't heal any of these people.
that's right. He doesn't. That's not the place that he does it. But what I said out of it was specifically the sort of the expansion of that set of senses,
Hmm.
because in Nylon and while he's traveling with Justin, a lot of the things that rely on that set of senses take him work. And he has
No,
to.
not in Nylon. He just immediately sees through in Nylon. He doesn't even understand that he's seen through something. It's so easy to him. He's like, why are there heat waves around these ships? And he doesn't realize he's not supposed to see either the heat waves or the ships.
Right.
I would say that it was always clear to me he wasn't supposed to see the heat waves.
The
I
ships
guess it.
themselves are supposed to be invisible when he sees them with the heat waves. To everyone else, they look like empty piers.
Okay, one of those things that had never previously clicked with me, possibly because it's one of those things he's doing without realizing that it's happening.
Yeah. Tamara's very jealous about it.
In the market at Nylan, there's a little bit of work he ends up needing to put in that it's at first just kind of a little bit of an instinctive, there's something wrong with that sword, and then with a little bit of thought is able to understand what's going on with it.
Ah, yes. So the evil sword that Crystal almost
Doesn't die.
buys. Yeah.
Yep.
And
Then working with working with Justin and the sheep, again, that it's conscious.
That's a different skill though. That's not seen through illusions.
Okay, then maybe you and I are reading what was happening in the perfumed quarter differently.
Okay.
It's not something that was registering with me as a seeing through illusions.
There were two skills that were being used, I guess. There was the detection of chaos forces within a person, and there was the discernment of true forms versus illusory glamours.
Okay, and the chaos forces in the person is the
Yeah.
part where I was saying, you were asking, why is that scene there?
Yeah.
That's the piece of it I'm saying it's showing has expanded through the result of the other things he's done. Because where it previously took work for him to do it, say for example with Justin the Sheep, once he's in the perfumed quarter, he didn't have to try. That sense of the chaos forces operating within them was just there.
Sure. But there's been other instances in the story where he's sensed chaos around people, such as the prefect soldiers who have been like chaos transformed through the fountain. So I do think that it's not just to show his increasing mastery of order, but there's something specific about it being sex work that Laris is seeing and refusing.
Okay.
And I just don't particularly think it was a well-made point.
That I can agree with.
Yeah.
Okay. Did anybody else have a topic they wanted to talk about, or shall I continue on?
I would like to talk about order and chaos just as a magic system now that I feel like I actually do have an interesting grasp on it. Yeah.
Chesky asks, order versus chaos, which are you? Benefits and downsides.
Oh, geez. I'm probably chaos, but I want to be order. A little ordered. I don't know.
Elaborate.
Oh, man. I don't know. I feel like gray seems too easy an answer for me. Because I like rules. I like lots of rules. But I also don't mind breaking them if it's convenient. That's kind of where I'm coming at with this. But I don't think either thing is necessarily wrong. I can keep no, I'm good.
Our clear mentor figure here is Justin the Grey Wizard. And we see both pure white and pure black be pretty bad. And we see Laris get quietly angry, and also angry to the point where he refuses to even consider the idea that Recluce might be encouraging chaos on Kandor for its own benefit. And so I do think that the book pretty clearly lays out that gray is where all responsible wizards should be.
Right.
But I think I fall on the black side. I like my order. I like my things in their place. I like all of my room organization to the contrary. I love to imagine that I could be orderly.
Right. Yeah, I think that's always the hope, right? Is we can always be a little more orderly than chaotic. But as you can see in my room, I like just a lot of random things. Trinkets. My whole house is filled with them. So
yeah, but I see books ordered up on shelves. Look.
Right. That's the one exception.
Antonin's castle out in the mountains, nothing fit. Nothing.
No.
It was all horrible craftsmanship.
It was all deteriorating. That was something I appreciated from the carpentry aspect of him making the points where he's learned that he can actually recognize these things in very subtle ways and just kind of observe them and recognize them.
Yeah, though I didn't get the impression that the mistakes were subtle in Antonin's castle.
No.
Whole place fell apart as soon as he died.
Yeah, it was pretty ramshackle at that point.
Yeah. So as for the chaos versus order, I don't remember if I've ever done as part of a text conversation in the server someplace the analogy I have seen sometime of how every good organization needs a balance of order Muppets and chaos Muppets. And actually takes certain Muppets and gives them perfectly good examples of who are order Muppets and who are chaos Muppets.
Bunsen and Beaker.
Even out of those two, Bunsen Honeydew actually really is a chaos Muppet more than he is an order Muppet, but Beaker is an order Muppet. Sam the Eagle is an order Muppet, as are Kermit and Scooter.
It's very orderly to only be able to make one sound.
But Gonzo, Animal, the Swedish Chef are all chaos Muppets. I am absolutely a chaos Muppet who desperately tries to pretend he is an order Muppet.
Where's Miss Piggy?
Oh, she's got to be a chaos Muppet, right? Oh, she might be the one true gray.
I mean, she holds things together when it's just her.
Bossing Kermit around. I mean, she
a Muppet Treasure Island. She was a god.
Yeah, she might be order.
Let's see.
Might be a black Muppet.
Let's see. From the original version of the article, they list as Chaos Muppets Cookie Monster, Ernie, Grover, Gonzo, Dr. Bunsen, Honeydew, and paradigmatically Animal. Order Muppets. And I'm thinking about Bert, Scooter, Sam the Eagle, Kermit the Frog, and the blue guy who is perennially harassed by Grover at restaurants.
Piggy doesn't get play?
I would love to be order. Though their regular sleeping schedule thing does not appeal to me.
Not at all. Most of so actually the small amount of time we spent in Recluce, I understand why Laris thinks everything is boring.
Yeah.
Like the getting up at an exact time, having your entire life planned out to the point where you don't quite fit, so we're going to get you out of here to either die or come back and make you fit. And then we're like, that just sounds terrible to me.
Having to keep a spotless outdoor shower and use it every day,
Right.
even in the winter. Yeah, no, thank
Yeah,
you.
no.
I understand that maybe there's some like magic cold resistance that comes along with being orderly, but he still doesn't make it seem like he doesn't feel the cold. He just doesn't die from it, because honestly, Laris should be dead from the snowstorms that he's been stuck in.
Oh,
Yeah, probably.
With the like very low amount of preparation that he had and very low amount of exposure gear.
Yeah.
Things that saved Laris: Justin, his staff, and his lovely mountain pony, Gerlach.
Gerlach.
And an
I was
awful
worried,
lot
Gerlach.
of luck.
Yep.
Oh, an awful lot of luck. An awful lot of luck. Would you say that Laris is a Taviran?
Well, okay. So actually, in some honest, I think he might have some of that going for him, because if we look at him from the perspective of this is order that is coming to impose balance on chaos for this particular thing, he is in some ways kind of destined to survive through this, right?
I don't know if Recluce has firm destiny like that.
No, well, that's what I'm. Yeah,
But
I'm not
like,
saying it's
yeah, I
firm, but
mean, it seems convenient. A lot of things
yeah,
seem convenient.
Yep, I will completely agree with that. That if we're going to import the idea of Taviran from the Westlands and the Wheel of Time into other series, that
Just happens to meet his uncle.
there are two or maybe arguably three in the pieces of Recluce that I've read that I think stand out as deserving that, and Laris is one of them. Justin is the maybe 3. Doran is the one I think is the other one.
I'll say Rawl isn't. Lauren, I don't know. Maybe.
Lauren's very much a lift myself up kind of guy. I think,
He's been in a lot of circumstances where he could have died.
yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that's orchestrated to favor him, but he is not the favored odd, except for maybe by his own mindset.
There's some like more minor Recluse characters whose lives don't like necessarily change anything on a huge scale. And so I'm less inclined to say that they're destined to do anything. But Laris, dude has taken out the biggest wizard in Kandar, has bonded with a mountain pony who was being abused, has rewound the memories and histories of a girl he trained with, met his uncle, escaped from who knows how many cities.
Yeah.
Like I said, Laris is absolutely one. I think Doran is one.
Okay.
I think Justin is arguably another.
Yeah.
But in Justin's case, I'm not positive whether it's just that we see the first part of Justin's story because we see the end of his story with Laris.
I think we can have a more fruitful discussion of this after we finish like Colors of Chaos.
Yeah, I have no idea where this is going.
Speaking of which, Chesky asks, how confused were you at the end? Or if not, explain.
Confused by what?
I'm not clear on that.
Okay.
Maybe by how he defeats the White Wizard.
Fundamentally, at least as I recall it, what he does to defeat Antonine is it's just exactly the same thing that Justin did on a more intense scale. Or the same thing Justin taught him about resisting before they went through Fervin on a more intense scale.
I disagree entirely about that. Because what he did to defeat Antonin was, yes, he defended himself against Antonin's psychic attack by self-acclamation. But what he did was he locked a double set of shields, which separated them from the outside world, and so stopped Antonin from drawing on the chaos forces outside of the little bubble that he made. And Antonin needed those chaos forces to keep his body intact. And so he just outlasted Antonin as he worked through his own internal reserves.
Yeah.
So Chesky just elaborated a little bit. Just want to know if any of you were confused by him breaking the staff and releasing the order, lowering the chaos. More of a how hard is it to follow what's happening overall?
I actually never quite caught on to why he broke his staff.
Okay. I can cover that.
Okay.
So
order and chaos or balance?
Right.
Usually the advantage of order is that it's something that has to be built over a large area. Concentrating the order has the effect of leaving a lot of chaos open and available someplace else.
Okay.
By pulling the order out from the staff and letting it go, if you think of the thing of the balance inside that area he has shielded off, like Kip was describing a minute ago.
He now has an overwhelming level of order versus chaos because he opened it.
Releasing the order out of the staff sends some of the order back into that area and thereby lowers the amount of chaos that's available for Antonin to draw on.
Chaos goes into the staff, order comes out of it.
Out of it. Okay.
But also, as long as the order was in the staff, it wasn't available for Laris to draw on.
Right. Had to stay contained within. Which I'm also still. Here's what I'm confused about. Is Lorcan a real wood? I don't think it is.
Editor Kip here. No, it is not, and we're going to skip my lengthy defense that it is.
I think there was a lot of good foreshadowing built for that final battle, because there are plenty of times where Laris starts to catch on that chaos mages just do not have much of themselves left over. And I did like him playing on actually utilizing that.
Also, it's an optional step of the hero's journey to grow past your supernatural aid. And the supernatural aid that he first received was that staff.
That first burn. I saw the first hiss. We've made it that far.
Let's just go through the hero's journey rapid fire.
Okay, pause real quick.
Sure.
From Modesitt himself, so far as I know, Lorcan does not exist in our world. A carver friend of mine claims that Black Locust is the closest analog and actually made a gift of a black staff carved from that. Black Locust is hard to work but extremely durable.
Then I will have to ask my uncle what his Lorcan tree is.
There's something else that does suggest that it might be related to the Dutch word for larch.
Okay. So call to adventure.
Right.
His choice of Danger Geld or just gone for good.
Yep. Refusal of the call. Doesn't want to go. Dude does not want to go. I think we're pretty clear about that. Supernatural aid. Staff. Crossing the first threshold. And also a little bit of supernatural aid in his traveling equipment from his mother.
Yep.
The unnaturally close and perfect brown woven fabric of Recluce, which not every other Danger Gelder gets.
No. They don't get the staff either. That was something from Sardit, right?
Correct.
If I'm remembering correctly.
And Laris and Tamra are the only two who have them.
Yes.
Right.
Our mage candidates. Crossing the first threshold, we've got a pretty distinct black wall of nylon.
Yes.
Belly of the whale. I would say that's his whole time in nylon.
Yeah. We're all the real.
Yeah. And then he goes in a literal ship across an ocean to his road of trials, which I would say is Kandar.
Yeah. All of Kandar.
Maybe you could incorporate the Danger Guild into that. Pretty blurry on how that goes. Then meeting with the goddess.
Gotta be Deirdre, right?
Experiences a love that has the power and significance of the all-powerful, all-encompassing, unconditional love a fortunate infant may experience with his or her mother.
Unconditional. Okay, well, he already met Crystal, so we've got that. We've got that all set up.
I mean, it could be Deirdre. And then there's temptation.
It could be.
That temptation could be either Antonin or it could be the Street of Prostitutes.
I think Antonin fits better.
Okay. Atonement with the father.
Said reading the book, accepting order.
Yeah, I think that one's there.
Yeah, coming to terms with order. This is rightful place, I guess, in using magic.
Then there's apostasis. Someone dying the ultimate death.
I don't think we got that one.
I don't particularly.
Tamara's probably the closest.
What's his name? Dustin? Not Dustin. Destrin.
Destrin.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about Destrin.
Yeah. Laris helps someone pass on, essentially.
He does. But it's not in like a...
He stops him multiple times.
Yeah, he spends the entire time he's there healing him.
Yep.
And does he... Do we actually see Destrin die? I thought he was still alive when Laris left.
Actually, I don't remember. And I just finished this book.
Yeah, same. No, because when they're
We know
all,
it's going to happen.
We know it's going to
No,
happen, but
we know
we
it's
didn't
gonna
see it
happen.
happen. Okay.
No, because when they're trying to evacuate, he thinks about leaving Destrin, and then he's wait, I can just knock this guy
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Because he's so
Right.
yeah.
Right. That's what happened.
Yeah. And then he carries him to the mill.
I can't fight him, but I can make him sleep. Sleep is natural. Sleep is orderly.
I just knocked out a bunch of guards, and this guy's full of chaos because he's dying. So
You know, if you're allowed to sleep 24/7 because it's orderly, maybe I'll choose order.
no, they're gonna force you to wake up at crack of dawn.
Don't remind me. Then the ultimate boon?
There's not.
I don't think that happens.
No.
Then there's refusal to return. So I don't really think that the return part of the monomyth has been completed.
Well, I think
He thinks about it a lot, but
Also, in the end, actually decides that he's content to be orderly, but he's not content to be orderly in Recluce.
yeah.
I think, he ultimately decides that he wants to stay with Crystal in Kandar.
That's the real question between the chaos and order debate. Like, even if you choose order, would you stay in Recluce? They would love to think that the two are synonymous, but they're not.
No. How much are we talking about if you don't like the perfect idea of Recluce as it is, you have a touch of chaos in you? Are we thinking it's that, or are we just the way they established Recluce is strictly on them, and there's plenty of order to go around elsewhere?
I think the way that they established Recluce is strictly on them. It's one
Yeah.
form of order, but it is not the only one.
Right. Okay.
Yep. And as Kip said, as much as they would like to try to have people convinced otherwise.
And Laris keeps asking, but why? But why? And all of their order masters are like, yeah, why do we do this?
Yeah. Because it is so.
Normally we only need one, but this time we had like 5 masters because Laris, you ask too many questions and you make too many of our masters doubt themselves.
Yeah. You make us uncomfortable, man. You need to go.
We're going to be dealing with your disruption for years to come.
Yeah.
Laris was like 16 when they cast him out, right?
Mm-hmm. He's very young.
16 or 17 by the time they finally made him start training. And it would have been sooner, particularly if his father had had anything to say about it. Or had had more to say about it, I guess.
Really? You think that?
It's said in there a few times that basically the only reason we're not doing it right now is you're too young.
I don't think that means that he would have done it earlier. I think that just means that he knew it was a foregone conclusion.
And they knew he was going to leave. They just needed him to get to the age where he could do so.
And not immediately die?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you expect the mortality average is for Danger Guilders?
Didn't they give that number? I feel like they didn't give an exact number.
I don't think, no, they definitely did not.
They definitely didn't? Okay. I got the impression most just die. This is really just a way for us to maintain order in Recluce and just kind of get rid of people. They tend to send them to Kandar, is the most chaos heavy place right now, correct? So they intentionally send them to a place where they would probably just get eradicated.
They send to 3 different places depending on some schedule.
Okay, so that's still ordered in a different way. Okay.
Yeah. It's either Hamor, Brista, or was it Nordla? I forget. And Kandar.
And it very much basically just depends on what the weather and currents are like at the time.
Right.
Except Laris knew he was always going to Kandar. And surprise, surprise, he was right.
I mean, it's kind of a hard rate to even judge because they say they don't hear back from most of them. We don't have confirmation on whether that's life or death.
They give a couple anecdotes of ones who survived and were like living so-called happy lives.
Yeah.
And that's like as far as they'll go.
Yeah. What was it? The Emperor of Hemor is actually a Danger Guilder.
I think related to a Danger Guilder.
Related to a Danger Guilder.
Yeah. Like the descendant of one.
Yeah.
Which, fun story, I guess.
I think it's probably about 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4 die?
Die?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that seems about right to me.
Yeah. In the dream sequences, do we ever... So I kind of had some hard times identifying who were...
The interludes?
Yeah, who were actually seeing in the interludes. Like, I knew Tamra and Crystal. Those were easy identifiers.
It's pretty much just them.
Yeah.
Was it just them? Okay.
There were 8 total. I think I mean, we see Rin in a couple of them, but she moves on and we don't see her anymore. But after that, it's just Crystal, Tamra, Antonin, and Cephia.
Okay. So we never see like Pistol
Samel.
Guy. Yeah.
Oh, Merton.
Yeah. So we don't actually know the outcomes of any of them. They just kind of disappear from the story.
Yes.
At this point.
Pretty much.
Yep.
They are quaternary characters, maybe.
Yeah.
What I would say out of it is that once Laris is done with his training, they are no longer part of Laris's story.
Okay. So they're no longer.
And that's why they disappear out of it.
I agree.
Because I was also getting the impression those interludes, they're his dreams. Is what we're supposed to be taking from those.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
Our boy is having visions in his sleep.
Right.
And really wants to deny what he saw happen to Tamra.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't want to believe that those visions are real. What do you think of that level of self-deception from a protagonist?
Matches up a lot with what we know of him for Tamra to begin with. His relationship with Tamra is just always a complicated one. I kind of find it funny that they ended it on, oh yeah, she's like my sister. That's how I identify this person that I've just been nothing but rude to and have been in denial of this entire time.
From someone who's never had a sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he constantly notes her beauty or lack thereof.
Yep. Weird judgments to be made.
Compares her to Crystal all the time. Which I guess leads us to the next question of Tamra or Crystal? Which team you on for Endgame?
Crystal. I think the right decision was made.
Jeff?
I also think the right decision was made, if only because it's the one that shows the signs of being able to become the more mature relationship.
Absolutely.
Or the only relationship where either side has actually expressed any sort of interest?
That too.
Yeah. It's Team Crystal or Team Dumpster Fire. It's...
I would have been okay with Deirdre if that was really an option.
Tamra and Laris would kill each other.
Yeah.
Yes, they would.
Absolutely would kill each other. Deirdre would die.
Yeah.
Did anyone else find it a little weird that he decided that he could keep them safe just by leaving them at the mill?
Yeah, I did not understand that at all. It's like, you're still leaving them in a chaos city where they now know that these people are affiliated with you. That's not safe.
They're like a mile or two away.
Yeah. That's not, and you took them to an obvious space. You took them to the Godfather. Like he's not a friend that no one else has ever really seen. He's not far, far, far away where they're probably not going to bother. You took him,
not a hermit.
Yeah, no, you took him right to the guy that they're going to go to first.
Like how long do you think it took them to get arrested or killed?
Instantly, like a night,
day, right? That day,
yeah, that day. For my headcanon, I'm gonna hope it worked out. Like I hope there's something I'm not seeing in the order chaos balance that allows that to be an acceptable choice, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Laris,
why'd you have to go and make magic chairs?
It is. I mean, that's the thing. We do kind of see he's not that smart a guy. He makes a lot of poor decisions. And he starts to accept that about himself, but still continues not to quite grasp that he should maybe try something different. So I'll be like, does this one have a sequel? This
one does have a sequel.
Okay.
A sequel was invented for it later.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think there's still plenty of room for Laris to develop a little bit, but as is, he didn't really change all that much. He got more knowledgeable, but not wiser.
Yeah. We started off at the chronological beginning of Recluce. This is the chronological end of Recluce.
We're pretty close. The sequel to this
is the
chronological end.
Yes.
Okay.
For now. There might be more. Who knows?
Yeah. Once he decides.
Of the existing published books.
Yeah.
As of the time of this recording, this is the chronological end.
Though the chronological beginning is about to change.
Yes. We're about to get negative 700
or whatever. Negative time units, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. That will be fun.
Yeah, I am looking forward to that book, only because I actually have some ties to it now. some knowledge base of what to expect. I did like that by the time we reach this one, there's no sci-fi elements whatsoever.
Yeah, right?
hmm
But there are steam engines.
There are steam engines, and there is a suggestion of the travel from a different universe, dimension, whatever it may be, that the rationalists.
Justin says something about like a second plane as
Yes,
well.
he does. Yep. Yeah, that's what I'm referring to. He says, just imagine it. And okay, this is more than just a philosophical question, I think.
Yeah, second plane, and there's another statement earlier which is about an order-locked purse. And I'd love to know how Laris doesn't believe in magic, but does believe in order-locked purses.
Yeah.
Laris' statement about his disbelief in magic makes no sense.
Again, I listened rather than read, so it's harder to mark where something was. But it feels like by the time that reference happens, he's coming around to okay, this is real. And moreover, I can actually do something with it.
Yeah, but that purse is from his parents. And it's like still fairly early on in the journey. I think it's like he'd just gotten to Freetown or something.
Okay.
I think there is some rationale behind it that if chaos is so absent there, then you might not necessarily see order as a magical thing, as a magical concept, because it is so frequently used.
Yeah. I mean, it explains why he doesn't draw too much attention to the invisible ships that he can see and no one else can.
Right.
But that's about it. Oh, and there's the affinity weapons.
Yeah, those.
That is, I'll be honest, that is probably my favorite section of the Danger Guild training.
Okay.
That's pretty short.
Again, we've come around a few times to the piece of the actual page or word or time counts for stuff doesn't necessarily match the relative importance or where it stands in memory. But between the affinity weapons and then the follow-up training with the regular ones.
I do think it's funny how quickly an Order Master can pick up the staff, apparently.
Yeah, no effort whatsoever.
You just got to stop fighting yourself.
Yeah.
In particular, it is that piece of order inherently defense. And a staff can be a great defensive weapon.
Yep. Fantastic defensive weapon. It's a very cool weapon in here and in Wheel of Time. So I think we're coming up on an hour here. Should probably close things out. Anyone have last thoughts?
Okay. I have a really random question for Kiptan that I just thought about.
What?
What does perfectly ordered bread taste like?
Ooh.
And why would you be a baker in this world?
Okay. So I have two answers for that.
Okay.
I have what does Recluce ordered bread taste like? And I have what does perfectly ordered bread taste like? And Recluce bread is boring.
Okay.
has to be
As
boring.
is. Yep.
Laris is right.
As is everything in Recluce, sure.
Yep. Recluce bread has consistently even crumb size. It has even toasting on the outer surface. It has... Would Recluce use slits or not? I think they would, but they would be the same every time.
Perfectly symmetrical across the...
Perfectly symmetrical slits, just like possibly right down the center line.
All right.
There's not a lot of salt, because, but what there is evenly dispersed throughout the entire loaf.
Sure.
Oh, it's got to be whole wheat.
All right. Interesting. Good call. I like whole wheat.
Okay. Perfectly ordered bread, though. Perfectly ordered. This is my definition. Has a fractal crumb.
What the heck does that mean?
It means that there is an irregularity in the crumb. There's large bubbles, there's small bubbles, and there's medium bubbles and every size in between.
Okay.
But they're arranged in the perfect configuration to give the perfect mouthfeel. So it's something more like focaccia. It has an irregular crumb, but irregular doesn't pass in the world of Recluce. So we need fractal. It needs to be a perfectly self-consistent pattern that is the same on every step down.
All right.
to the uninitiated eye, looks a bit more random.
That might have been the right answer. That was great.
That was.
And same goes with distribution of salt. That salt has to be in exactly the right spot. It might look like a random assortment. When you bite into it, it might seem like some bites have more and some have less, and it creates a sensation of contrast and texture for the tongue. But in reality, there's a pattern. And an order master could see it. Yeah. The key to order isn't consistency, it's patterns.
Patterns, yeah. You have to have, as long as sequence is happening.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. You can make chaos serve your goals as long as you order it correctly. And we will definitely be getting into that in future books. But thank you for the question to end on.
You're welcome.
I think that's a perfect place to call this.
Okay, this has been the Legendarium Green Team. Thank you for joining us in our lovely disorder discussion of the Magic of Recluce. Thank you, Craig, for loaning us this corner of your media empire, and thank you, Horizon Brave, for getting us all started. I've been your host, Kip Tan, and I've enjoyed my time with my lovely co-hosts, Jingalls and Jeff. Our intro and outro music is Galactic Damages by Jingle Punks. Goodbye.
Later.
TTFN.